Good morning and welcome to BBOC Live. It's 10:30 a.m. Eastern, and this is the Week 6 college football betting preview. I'm Stuckey, and joining me, as always, my fellow BBOC co-hosts, Colin Wilson, Mike Calabrese, and of course, the one and only Mr. Brett McMurphy. A lot to get to today. We'll give our two best bets. As always, we'll talk two marquee games, including one at noon and one in prime time. We'll also build our weekly round robin Moneyline Parlay, and we'll get Johnny Manziel's Hail Mary pick of the week. Slates are getting better, gentlemen. Colin, I hope Saturday gives you a couple more breaks than Friday. Jacksonville State first half. Ugh, I was feeling for you there.
93-yard kickoff return for Kennesaw.
And then Michigan State. I hope I heard. We'll have a recap episode tomorrow. 959 bad beat for the voicemail reminder. Michigan State. I guess playing Jonathan Smith playing for the Boosters, kicking a field goal down 24 with 20 seconds left, and to cover that number. Not the most fun in the Wilson household, hey?
No. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, do you have anything to add, or just hope Saturday goes better?
I just hope Saturday goes better. I mean, we're getting into. Brett tweeted out the other day. We have football every single day now that Conference USA is going to be back midweek. So let's just get ready for the craziness.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta shake off those. They're gonna happen. It's football. It's wild. I'm just hoping some of my dogs, the dogs that I bet, somehow the coaches, can I get Jonathan Smith? I mean, man, kicking field goals to cover. Yeah, what a time to be alive. Brett, UNLV goes down to Syracuse. Some bad clock management from Barry Odom again, and some questionable flags there, but a really entertaining game that once again came down to the final play on a Friday night. Friday night's been pretty entertaining. Are you going to have Boise State now in your projected field?
I probably will stuck until they lose another game. If they lose two games, though, I may go with James Madison if they run the table at 12-0. I think they're different than Liberty, although because they're I was going to say they're in the same conference, but they're not. But yeah, I'll put Boise there if they, they're expected to roll today. I loved your tweet about the prop for Gentry was more than 100 yards, more than Orgy's passing props for Michigan. But yeah, I think Boise's the favorite now if they finish 12-1.
Yeah, my best bets have been cold lately, so I guess I don't know, quick. Might as well release it now. My best bet for the day: Ashton Jeanty, touchdown score, yes, minus 4,000. That's my best bet for the day. Calabrese, how was your Friday night?
It was good. As you know, I'm a big UNLV backer, so it was painful to watch the Rebs go down that way. I agree. Odom, it was strange given that he had those 3 timeouts. He could have used them in the goal-to-go situation when Syracuse was trying to tie the game. I understand they had a freshman kicker, but he had a big leg. He can probably make it from at least attempting from inside of 55 yards. And the way that Ricky White was getting open in the secondary, you would have thought they would have at least allowed Haj Malik to have 1 or 2 throws downfield before sitting on it. So yeah, it was painful, but I will say this. Preseason, if you said at this point that they'd be 4-1, and remember they're hosting Boise later this month, I still think the running Rebs have a great chance to make the college football playoff.
Yeah, but the tough part now is that they're probably gonna have to sweep Boise, which won't be an easy task. All right, before we get into our best bets, if you want access to all of Action's pro projections, make sure to sign up for our annual subscription that is currently on sale. Access includes exclusive player prop picks from Sean Kerner and other members of the Action Analytics team. You also get access to exclusive expert articles, our best spread, moneyline, and total bets, and real ticket money percentages. To sign up, visit actionnetwork.com/pro today and use code BBOC20 at sign up. One more time, that's BBOC20 at sign up for $20 off. All right, let's get to our first round of best bets. I'll kick things off. As you guys all know, I am the original founder of the Diego Pavia fan club. I'm now the proud president of the Diego Pavia fan club. I've always been a fan of Diego Pavia. So I'm backing the Vanderbilt Commodores here. And on the Severs is just a good spot. They're coming off of a bye. Alabama, I mean, they're just kids, and it's just human nature. That was a 60-minute absolute all-out effort, roller coaster of emotions. Could come out a bit flat here, but I said at the beginning of the show, beginning of the season, I want to back Vanderbilt as a big dog the entire season. This is a team that profiles like a service academy. They want to shorten the game. They play really slow, just minimize the number of possessions, which makes it more difficult for a bigger favorite to cover. This year on the show, had them against Missouri, had them against Va Tech, and faded them as a double-digit favorite. This is just who they are. They're basically an SEC service academy. Head coach Clark Lee came out and said he wants this game to be under 10 possessions. So I do worry a bit about the advantage Alabama has on the outside against the Vanderbilt cornerback group, which is very underwhelming, especially for an SEC team. But I think Vanderbilt will have a few wrinkles here out of the bye, a few tricks up their sleeve. And the Alabama secondary is a bit vulnerable to some shot plays. So just shorten the game, hit one or two of those, minimize possessions, and I think they stay within this number. Colin, where are you headed for your first best bet?
I'm going to go to the Sun Belt with a team that we've had on this show before and cashed for us. I'm going to say Louisiana -17, a number that has steamed over the last 48 hours. And it's probably deserved. This offense for Louisiana is #1 in the nation in quality drives led by quarterback Ben Wooldridge. A quality drive is defined as, do you have 10+ plays? Do you last 3 minutes? And do you cover 50 yards or end with a score? No one's better than the Raging Cajuns right now, and that's going to go up against a Southern Miss defense that is just a dumpster fire right now, 122nd defensively in quality drives. So you can expect Louisiana to be in scoring position all day. This Southern Miss offense is dead last in havoc allowed. What does that mean? 31 tackles for loss, 7 fumbles already on the season. There have been 110 passing attempts by 3 Southern Miss quarterbacks this year. There's been 47 pressures allowed. That's a pretty impressive pressure rate that they're allowing. Also, monster special teams advantage here. I just suffered a loss last night because Kennesaw State took one to the house for 93 yards. But that shouldn't happen here because we're good in special teams. ULL 18th in the nation, USM 119th, and that goes back to Southern Miss's efficient kickoff returns, just 2 of 9, efficient 14. It's a lifeless special teams. It's a lifeless defense, and it's a lifeless offense. Give me Louisiana -17.
Yes, my days might be numbered for Mr. Will Hall and Hallball down in Hattiesburg. Brett, where are you headed for your first best bet?
Hopefully it's a happy valley for us. Penn State laying, I believe it's 28.5, ticked over 4 touchdowns. So far this season, UCLA has traveled to Hawaii. They pulled out a lucky win. LSU and now Penn State. That's great if the Bruins got frequent flyer miles. Unfortunately, they don't. And it's not so great for the win-loss record. UCLA ranks last in the Big Ten in total offense, and starting quarterback Ethan Garbers may not play today. It's not much better defensively. They've allowed an average of 37 points against 3 Power 4 teams. Also, this game starts at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So by the time the Bruins wake up, Penn State should be up 5 TDs early in the second half. And of course, we love/hate James Franklin for his ability to make sure and score late to keep the game out of reach for those that matter by the number. Give me the Nittany Lions in a romp over a beleaguered and beat down and tired Bruins squad.
Yeah, agree with you here. I mean, Penn State didn't cover last week as a big favorite. Should have. They complete. Illinois scored an opening drive touchdown and then did nothing. Penn State had 3 trips inside the 20 with no points. It should have been an easy cover. One of the biggest discrepancies in net success rate of the entire week. So I like Penn State here as well. Was disappointed. James Franklin had the ball late with the chance to cover in Illinois territory, and he takes a knee. Yet whenever I bet against Penn State, he has his 3rd-string quarterback in there taking fake knees and throwing it deep. Where was that last weekend, James? I hope to see it this weekend because I agree with you here.
I think maybe we've gotten to the answer of who is calling these plays. Is Franklin coming in on scoring, attempts? Is he coming in on 4th downs? Because he would have shoved it in. We know the Kotelnicki's calling all of this.
Yeah, that's an override situation to cover the spread. You saw Jonathan Smith do it last night, Franklin. If you're up 27 here late, I need you to pull out the fake knee. Calabrese, where you headed?
I'm going to go with San Jose State. This number's been ticking up. It's now at a touchdown, but let's go back a month. I think there was regular, skepticism across the board when it came to San Jose State because they lose Brent Brennan late in the coaching carousel and then bring in Ken Niumatalolo. There was legitimate questions about what this offense would look like. Would it have option elements? He hires Craig Stutzman with his air raid background, a fellow Hawaiian, and this spread and shred offense has been dynamic. It's averaging over 35 points per game. The diminutive Emmett Brown, under 6 feet at quarterback. He's got passing lanes, and he's usually looking downfield for Nick Nash, who's leading the country in receiving yards and receiving touchdowns. So this offense is cooking. And Jeff Choate's done a good job in year one. They're ahead of schedule in terms of where they should be from what probably was going to be a year zero situation in Reno, but they've been playing a lot better, but they've been playing better at home. And going on the road here, I think the game within the game that is going to determine it is the fact that Nevada has played bend but not break defense. They're top 25 in terms of touchdown percentage allowed, but San Jose State, despite being a spread team, has a lot of really interesting red zone and goal line packages. It's a reason why they've scored 12 touchdowns on 16 red zone trips. I think their drives are going to end in touchdowns. And when Brendan Lewis, their quarterback for Nevada, is playing from behind, I think he's going to struggle with pressure as he did against Minnesota. He was sacked 4 times, turned the ball over 3 times. San Jose State 30th in havoc generated, 29th in PFF pass rush. I think that's the difference in this one. I don't mind laying all the way up to a full touchdown in this one.
I'm going to create a GoFundMe. I'll tweet out the link. And it's to fund my campaign to get Nick Nash to New York if he breaks some of these NCAA records. I don't think he has a chance to win the Heisman, but if he breaks like single season reception yards, reception touchdowns, everything, he's on pace to do some of those. If he does, get him, get Genty, at least get them to New York.
I mentioned earlier in the week, Stuck, the gambling Heisman, Nick Nash has to be at the very top of some ballots because he is doing yeoman's work out there on the West Coast.
Maybe this year, it's my guy, Diego. Maybe he's really in the running. We'll see today. Today, big data point for Diego Pavia's gambling Heisman chances. All right, let's move on to our first marquee matchup of the day between Texas A&M and Missouri. Before we share our thoughts, here's a quick clip of a conversation that I had earlier this week with Texas A&M alum Johnny Manziel. Your alma mater, Texas A&M, hosting Missouri, who comes off a bye and will play their first road game of the season. Pretty funny that they're going to go from the atmosphere in College Station this week to Amherst and play at UMass next week. Pretty stark contrast there as far as atmosphere and crowd size. Texas A&M, small home favorite here against Missouri. Who do you like?
I like the Aggies at home. I think this is a game that they're just going to have to find a way to win, right? Offensively, I think in the passing game, they haven't been as strong as they would have liked to be over the past couple of weeks. But, this is a team that's relying on the ground game, relying on Le'Veon Moss running the ball, and just relying on our defense as well. So I think this is going to be a game that's going to be a little bit of a slugfest. And I think the key to this game is just A&M defensively just limiting explosive plays from Bird and Cook.
All right, thanks, Johnny. Before we continue, producers and mayor, we have breaking news. Johnny Manziel likes Texas A&M at home against Missouri. Pretty shocking. So if you're joining us, usually it's Brett breaking the news here, but it's me this week. Johnny likes Texas A&M. Pretty shocking. Me personally, I have no idea on this game. Talked about this on the podcast. I said this is the one game I could make a case for either side. I don't have a clue. Very difficult game to handicap. I don't know who's going to play quarterback for Texas A&M. Missouri, it's their first road game. They're coming off a bye. Have they been holding things back on offense? I think that their defense does have holes. Can Texas A&M exploit it? Texas A&M, they've been quite fortunate. I mean, they probably should have lost to Arkansas, got some breaks. Arguably should have lost to Bowling Green at home. I got nothing here. Colin, you?
Yeah, I'm taking Texas A&M all the way here. The Missouri offense is just not creating explosives. I mean, there's a case to be made that maybe Kirby Moore, the offensive coordinator, has been holding back. But
he did do that last year.
He did until he got to conference play. Then he got to Vanderbilt this year, and it was still pretty stagnant. So we need to see what the game plan. I mean, you would think if there's a full playbook that we're missing here, you're going to see it today. And I don't know why you would wait until the Texas A&M defense to pull it out. But so far, the Missouri offense is 129th in pass EPA right now. Brady Cook is just 3 of 14 on passes over 20 yards. So whether the playbook's limited or not, Missouri's not completing passes over 20 yards. And you have to wonder about the loss of Cody Schrader, who went off to the NFL. Running back for Missouri last year was the best goal line option that they had. Right now, Missouri is outside the top 50 in red zone TD rate. And then you look at Luther Burden, probably the best wide receiver that's going to come out of the NFL draft, possibly. His target share last year was 34%. That is down to 17%. It's been cut in half this year. Not really sure why Brady Cook to Luther Burden has not been working. You mentioned there could be two quarterbacks going for Texas A&M here. Both of them really help against Missouri, because if Connor Weigman goes, that means there's more of a passing aspect to Texas A&M that can take advantage of a Missouri defense that is coverage grading 64th. And you say, well, that's mid FBS. Well, Missouri's strength of schedule is 120th. They played nobody and their coverage grading is already slacking. That would help Connor Weigman. But if it's Marcel Reed, he's running an RPO offense behind an entire offensive unit that is third in the nation in havoc allowed. It's very disciplined. They do not make mistakes. I like Texas A&M to win this game. Cover the spread.
Brett, you're on board as well?
Oh, Stuck, I got breaking news. Johnny Manziel is picking Texas A&M next week. I like Texas A&M also. Look, they played the much tougher schedule, Notre Dame, at Florida, Arkansas. Missouri struggled against its toughest opponents, Boston College and Vanderbilt. Like you mentioned, this is Missouri's first road trip, and the Tigers have supposedly been saving up some of their offensive schemes for this game. Well, hey, look, I'm a team player. Like Mizzou, I've been sandbagging all season. But this week, I'm going to give you my really, really good picks. And one of those is Texas A&M minus the number against Missouri.
I think A&M has a bye next week. So Manziel.
I like them even more. Yeah.
Calabrese, you're going to make it 3 for 3?
I am. I'm going to lay the 2.5 here. Since the Notre Dame debacle, A&M has one giveaway. That is the right formula to win in conference play. And outside of the service academies, A&M has the third highest rush rate among Power 4 teams. And a big reason for that, obviously, is the switch at quarterback. And I agree with Colin's assessment. I think it's an upgrade in the passing game if it's Weigman. And I think if it's Reed, the RPO game is going to be effective. And when you get even deeper into the weeds on this matchup in the trenches, strength versus weakness, the A&M offensive line on the right side versus Mizzou trying to stop runs, particularly powers in the B and C gap on the right. They've really struggled. Demetrius Crownover at right tackle has been a road grader, and on B and C gap runs to the right, Le'Veon Moss is averaging 3.6 yards per carry. I think that's where they're going to win this game. And the bottom line is, I think this is going to be a bit of a rock fight. It still may be a one-possession game. It's going to be sweaty for 60 minutes from a gambling perspective, but I think A&M is the right side because Mizzou continually has given me pause when I look at their passing game. I haven't seen it yet this season, and I don't think that they're going to get right in a hostile environment on the road.
All right, should be a good one with college football playoff implications for both of these teams who probably can't afford a loss in this game. I mean, you could argue Missouri can, but with their schedule, every win matters, and Texas A&M already has dropped a game. But let's move it on to our weekly round robin Moneyline Parlay. Last weekend, these not great. These were as embarrassing as my picks overall. So goal is to hit one or two of these a season. Hopefully this is the week. Colin, start us off with an anchor.
Yeah, we're going to go with Florida over UCF. We're taking the better scoring team here. UCF has had 37 trips into scoring position, and they've come away averaging 3.2 points. Pretty impressive. You're kicking field goals considering you have KJ Jefferson and RJ Harvey in a red zone situation. Florida is 10th offensively in finishing drives. They cash in every time they get into scoring position. We still do not know how bad this UCF secondary is. So let's go with the Gators to start us off.
That is actual breaking news. Colin going with Billy Napier against his beloved Knights that let him down last week. But I'm going to go, give me Kansas. I know Kansas has, what are they, 1-4 now or 1-3? They have not been great, but they've been very unlucky in a lot of games. Like Illinois, they throw that pick six that really flipped that game. Against UNLV, they had the pick and then that crazy play at the end of the half, a crazy comeback last week. They've been very unlucky. I do think they missed Kotal Nicky, but what has Arizona State done? I mean, they're getting so much love, and they're catching only 3 at Texas Tech. They beat Mississippi State and Wyoming, who are abysmal. I mean, you're Mississippi State out here getting trucked at home by Toledo, and then they beat Texas State, who, I mean, Calabrese loves them, but Texas State just lost at home to Sam Houston. So, and they probably should have lost that game. This is too much love for Arizona State here. I love Scatterboo as much as anybody, but give me the Jayhawks.
Yeah, next we're going to go and fade Oklahoma State, something I should have listened to Brett about last week. Oklahoma State is bottom 20 in creating quality drives. They just can't get this offense down the field, especially when you look at Alan Bowman's passing. What's West Virginia going to do? They're going to line up and punch you in the face. Oklahoma State's defense is 98th in defensive line yards, meaning they are getting pushed around by opposing offensive lines. Let's go with the Mountaineers.
Yeah, and Oklahoma State, not even at full strength on that defense. That can't stop the run. And that loss to Utah at home. That didn't age well last week after what we saw from Utah at home against Arizona. I'm going to go Miami O. I'm going to some action. I don't think there's much separating these teams. I'm actually low on both of them coming into the year. So give me the Red Hawks here, or I should say the Spread Hawks.
Well, Stuckey brought this to the table on our podcast on Thursday. We're going to go with Minnesota, the Gophers. USC did not have a friendly trip whenever they came on the road to Big Ten play against Michigan. Now they're going to face a Minnesota team where if you can't get pressure on Max Brosmer, he's going to tear you up over the middle. Max Brosmer right now has 90 passing attempts between 0 and 19 yards, only 15 passing attempts past the 20. Why is that important? Because USC has a pretty terrible pass rush. They are playing better defensively in a lot of areas, but they are not creating any kind of pass rush whatsoever. Brosmer is going to be able to sit back and pick them apart. So let's get the Gophers at home.
All right, good stuff there. We're going with Florida, Kansas, West Virginia, Miami of Ohio, and Minnesota. Good luck if you are following along. All right, let's move on to our second marquee matchup of the day. We're going to prime time. We're heading out west for Cal and Miami. Shockingly, this is Miami's first road game in the Mountain or Pacific time zones since 2000 against Washington. Again, they lost. I think that was a top 15 matchup in that game. So it has been a while. They're calling this Coke versus Woke, but judging by the Cal crowd that was out there at 4, 5, 6 in the morning, maybe it's Coke versus Coke. I like Cal here. Anything over 10 is fine. I think, obviously you could say Miami is traveling out west, but they played on a weeknight. I just think that the bye week for Cal came at the perfect time. This is a team that was dealing with as many injuries as any team in the country. I think they were unlucky against Florida State. They went on the road as 2 touchdown dogs and beat Auburn with, hordes of starters out. So they're going to get some key guys back this week, including, I think, an underrated one in their slot corner, which is really important against Restrepo. So I think this Cal team is feisty. Justin Wilcox has been unbelievable against the spread as an underdog. He knows how to ugly up games. He knows how to create havoc, which his defenses usually do, which is important against Cam Ward, who can just be inconsistent and sloppy with the ball at times. So I like the Bears here. Colin, do you agree?
Yeah, I'm going to join you here with the Cal Bears. Listen, the quarterback, Fernando Mendoza, this is a huge game for him. He is a Columbia high school product that is out of Miami, 13 miles away. 13-minute car ride from the Hurricanes campus. Not only does he know Miami Hurricanes really well because he grew up there, his dad was a fellow high school teammate of Mario Cristobal. So this is a big game for the Mendoza family, and he has been killer in passing downs. Right now, Cal is running top 35 in success rate when they get into longer downs and distances. Cam Ward had huge issues havoc-wise against Virginia Tech, difficulties with passing, difficulties holding on to the ball. We knew that once havoc got to Cam Ward, it would create problems for this Miami team. Half of the dropbacks last week against Virginia Tech had pressure on them. Watch out for corner Noel Williams here for Cal, one of the best lockdown corners in the nation. 4 games, 4 picks already this year. He's going to be looking to take one away from Cam Ward and this Miami offense. This Cal defense has been elite in scoring position. They don't let people get into scoring position. The Bears have allowed just 7 opponent drives to get into the red zone. Only 3 of those ended up being a score, and only 2 of those were a touchdown. So give me Cal here. The defense stiffens up against the goal line. They're going to produce some havoc against Cam Ward.
Yeah, Wilcox does have familiarity as well with Cam Ward from his Pac-12 days. So curious to see the defensive game plan here. Brett, you on board?
Yeah, look, I like Cal here too. Stuck, you and Colin laid out all the particulars. Add to that, Justin Wilcox, 3-0 against the spread when facing Cristobal when he was at Oregon. So I won't bore you with a lot of the minutia you guys covered. I'm here for the differences in the cultures between the states. And Stuck, you mentioned it, Coke versus Woke. I've already got 3 different requests in to get one of those t-shirts. And also, look, if Cal wins, this could seriously help Jaden Ott's Heisman person chances. So I'll go with Cal in the points. Ott for Heisman person.
I love game day going to Cal for the first time, by the way, which is always awesome. There's only, I think, 6 Power 4 schools that they haven't been to. It's always just fun to watch. Favorite sign I saw, there was one about the Cheez-It Bowl. You're due financial compensation if you watched that. There was another one that said, I only do lines of code, which was great. So always fun when game day goes to a new location instead of recycling the 6 or 7 places that they go to all the time. Calabrese, you're going to make it a clean sweep?
Yeah, clean sweep. I don't need to belabor the point here. You mentioned that we got lucky or I should say Cal got unlucky to lose to Florida State. As bettors here, I think it's the reason why it's above 10, why we're lucky to be catching the advantageous number. When you look back at that game, they missed 2 short field goals and they drove down to the Florida State 12 at the end of the game in a 14-9 loss before some penalties and some sacks ended up torpedoing that drive. And everything that we've said about Cam Ward is true up against a Cal secondary that is a ball hawking secondary. They're leading the country in interceptions. They're 15th in PFF grade. I think that they create 2 to 3 turnovers in this game, hang in it for 4 quarters. So I'll definitely take the 10.5. By
the way, I can already hear the voicemails if Cal doesn't cover about where Mendoza's from and close to the Miami campus. 959 bad beat as a reminder for the recap show tomorrow. All right, can't wait for that one tonight, but let's get to our second round of best bets. I'll kick things off. Looking at the board for all the bets I made, I think the one that's still in range here is Georgia Tech. Anything under 10, I think is fine. I think they lay the wood against Duke. Duke's just a fraudulent 5-0. I mean, you go back, they should have lost to Northwestern. They win that game in double overtime. Yeah, they blow out Middle Tennessee. Middle Tennessee State's down. I mean, number one, they're horrendous, but they're down 8 starters. They gift Duke 5 touchdowns on short field turnovers. Just a hilarious game. Last week against North Carolina, they're down 20-0, have to rally. So, 6 straight game here. They've had some really close games. Georgia Tech coming off a bye, a much needed bye. We were talking about the UCLA travel. The Georgia Tech travel hasn't been great. And I think that they can use Duke's aggressive defense and Manny Diaz's aggressive nature against them. So Buster Faulkner, I think, will have a good game plan here. I don't trust Malik Murphy to consistently beat this Georgia Tech secondary. So I think Georgia Tech by double digits here. Give me the Ramblin' Wreck. Colin, where are you headed?
Yeah, one of those Duke fraudulent wins that came against Northwestern. My team for a best bet this week will be Northwestern plus 13.5. Listen, it's a great situational spot to start off. Indiana, this will be their 6th consecutive game. They'll be heading into a bye next week. Northwestern coming straight off of a bye. They've had 2 weeks to prepare for Cignetti. Is it time to fade Cignetti? The inflation is in the market. There's not a power rating system that gets it up this high. We'll see if that pays off here in this situational spot. Now, Indiana's pass rush is going to be neutralized by this Northwestern offensive line. They are one of the best in the Big Ten. They do not allow pressures. That's going to help Northwestern operate their offense, and it takes away a major key component of what Curt Cignetti has done to this Hoosiers squad. Plus, the Northwestern defense has just been choking out every single opponent that they've played. 26th in defensive quality drives, 8th in defensive finishing drives, even if you're able to produce a drive across the 50 in last 3 minutes. This is a top 10 Wildcats team that keeps you from scoring. And look at Indiana's strength of schedule so far. It's not within the top 100. We talked about Ole Miss. We don't have a data point. We talked about Miami. We don't have a data point. Well, with Indiana, we truly do not have a data point yet. We'll see if Northwestern provides that.
Yeah, on the surface is a good spot. You're a braver man than me to get in front of the Cignetti train, but super low total here. And you're catching near 2 touchdowns. I will say, Colin, whatever you're betting next Friday night, I think I'm going to have to ride along. You are overdue. There's not a more cursed man in America on Friday nights. You had Northwestern against Duke, which ended up losing. There was that fumble in double overtime. Washington.
Yeah, Washington.
And the over last week. Washington with 98 or somewhere around their post-game win expectancy. And then last night with Oregon and the Jacksonville State first half. So I might be riding along just on the do factor next week on your Friday night bets. Speaking of Washington, Brett, is that where you're headed?
Yeah, Stuck. Washington against Michigan. This line has fluctuated, I think, between 1 up to 2.5. I'm not sure where it is now, but to be safe, I'll go with Washington on the money line. Look, Michigan has played 5 consecutive home games. This is their first road game. They go all the way out to Seattle. And Stuck, you brought it up. Last week's games were misleading. Washington outgained, sorry, Colin, to bring this up, outgained Rutgers by about 200 yards, should have won. Michigan outgained by Minnesota, should have lost. Now you have an unranked team favored against a top 10 team. Historically, top 10 teams in that situation are only 7-11 straight up against the spread. Washington just faced Rutgers run attack. They'll be prepared for Michigan's one-dimensional offense. I think Jed Fish and Will Rogers expose a very one-dimensional Michigan team.
Yeah, you mentioned one-dimensional on offense. We kind of talked about this earlier in the show. Alex Orji's pass yardage prop sitting around 90. I guess that makes sense because you don't really pass at an Orji. Shout out to one of my Twitter followers for that line. Calabrese, where you headed?
I'm going to wrap this up with an over out of the Sun Belt. And a big reason that this game is sitting in the 60.5 range is that both of these programs have taken a lot of paychecks in recent weeks. Arkansas State played the Michigan defense, Iowa State defense. LSU ended up cutting a check to South Alabama. That's thrown off both tempo and offensive stats for both of these teams. But when these quarterbacks are facing lousy G5 teams, and let me make this clear, South Alabama and Arkansas State, they are bottom 20 FBS defenses. They are going to absolutely cook. Gio Lopez in starts this season, the offense is averaging 57 points per game. I know they scored literally 100 against Northwestern State, but he has still been locked in, and he has, a Robin to his Batman in the backfield. Fluff Bothwell is one of the best freshman running backs in the entire country, averaging close to 8 yards per carry, 6 rushing touchdowns. I know that Jamal Pritchett is out in this game. He's in the concussion protocol, but there's still enough offensive juice for South Alabama to score in the 30s, maybe 40s here. And Jalen Raynor, this is the bounce back spot of the season, in my opinion. When he played Central Arkansas, when he played Tulsa, he accounted for 600 total yards, 5 touchdowns. That's closer to what we're going to get in this game. And as I mentioned, the tempo numbers have been thrown off by playing against those big boys and having those quick 3-and-outs. I think both of these teams are going to strive for 75 plus plays in this game. My rankings here call for this to be in the upper 60s, if not 70s. So any number below 62, I think, is a play on the over.
All right, good stuff there. By the way, on the I was doing some NFL stuff when the script was being made, and I think Colin got to our producers first and made sure that Arkansas, Tennessee was not on the docket. So I'm going to go off script here. Just one team. Just tell me the team that covers. Tennessee or Arkansas. I'm saying Arkansas, but I have no credibility when it comes to Tennessee games. Colin?
Ooh, Pig Suey. Taylon Green's going to tear up that secondary.
Just stop throwing picks. Please. Calabrese?
Yeah, I'll go with Arkansas too. I think this is, it's a little bit different with Tennessee having the expectations heaped on them to be running away from teams every single time that they play. I think in 6 weeks, we may look back at that Oklahoma game and it may make more sense that they put that offense in a box with Jackson Arnold. I think they're still coasting on a lot of credit defensively from that game. So I'll go with Arkansas.
Brett?
Man, I hate to say it. I'll go contrarian and go Arkansas because Tennessee's been a covering machine. But as you guys covered in the pod, maybe the first team that actually has a quarterback that Tennessee has faced.
Yeah, well, at least a quarterback that can run too. All right, 4 for 4 there. That kind of scares me a bit.
We're doomed.
Just please don't turn it over, Taylon. All right, before we get out of here, it's time to get Johnny Manziel's Hail Mary pick of the week. These aren't easy to pick. We're looking for touchdown plus underdogs. You had Georgia Tech against Louisville. I think Georgia Tech deserved to win that game. Then you had Louisville against Notre Dame. I think Louisville deserved to win that game. I mean, if you look at the box score, there was just some fluky short field touchdowns for Notre Dame. So I think you've had some strong reads here of late. Who are you rolling with this weekend?
I'm going to go with South Carolina this week against Ole Miss. I think what they're doing on the defensive front, they're going to be able to give Ole Miss some headaches a little bit. And this is a team that came out and manhandled the Kentucky team, that just took down Ole Miss. So I think this is one that, Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss really have to be on their toes about. Is their strength of schedule, what they've done throughout this year. They're playing a South Carolina team who I think can get very physical with them, and they can do just enough to come out and get this win.
All right, thanks, Johnny. Johnny's had some good picks, I think, since Vandy that just haven't got there. I mean, Georgia Tech against Louisville, I think, got unlucky. And I think Louisville got unlucky against Notre Dame. So good luck to you there in an SEC showdown. That'll do it for us. Enjoy the slate. It's a good one. And next week, even better. And the week after, maybe even better than that. And as always, we'll be back all the way through or at least I will be in Calgary, so all the way through the College Basketball National Championship every Saturday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern. One final reminder, if you want access to all of Action's Pro projections, make sure to sign up for our annual subscription that is currently on sale. Access includes exclusive player prop picks from Sean Kerner and other members of the Action Analytics team. You also get access to exclusive expert articles, our best spread, money line, and total bets, and real ticket money percentages. To sign up, visit actionnetwork.com/pro today and use code BBOC20 at sign up. One more time, that's BBOC20 at sign up for $20 off. Thanks again to all of you for tuning in. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe, hit that like button. Do appreciate you watching there and helping us grow the channel. Thank you to Colin, Mike, and Brett. Thanks to our producers on the back end. Most importantly, thanks to all of you for tuning in. I already mentioned the voicemail, 959-BAD-BEAT. We'll be back with our recap episode Monday morning. Don't forget to call in, yell about whatever you want, including where the Cal quarterback's hometown is. Midweek, we'll be back. New BCS Tuesday. Group of 5 guys Wednesday. We'll be back with next week's epic preview. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, live show 10:30 a.m. Eastern next Saturday. Thanks again for tuning in. Good luck on all of your wagers today, and we will see you next week. Cheers.